Yo, what is going on, guys? Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on The Flash Season 6. And for today's video, I will be going over this article released by TV Line, in which they made an interview with Grant Gustin, and they, say what they interviewed Gustin about. And Grant Gustin does actually reveal some pretty interesting stuff about this season, in which I will be breaking all of this down. Before I do the breakdown, however, you guys don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Arrowverse content coming your way. Now for this interview, I'm just going to go over the main parts. Some questions aren't, that interesting, so I'm just, going over the interesting ones. But if you guys want to see the whole interview and stuff, I will link the article in the description down below. But the first question is, will villains of the week such as Ragdoll prove to be distractions as well? And Grant says, the Ragdoll episode airing this week changes the dynamic of the team and the West Allen family moving forward. They're not just small changes, they're going to have lasting effects for the rest of the season. It's not just a villain of the week type thing. It will affect the show moving forward for a while. Okay, so this is something very interesting, as it does affect the show moving forward, as what Grant said. Now, this leads me to believe that something could possibly happen to Joe in this episode. Obviously not died, I don't think that will ever be a possibility, but maybe could get seriously injured, which makes Barry get angry, because we saw in the trailer Joe gets shot by a bullet and Barry was unable to save him. So maybe this guilt will fill up Barry, and he'll just get angry that because of his limited speed he's unable to save people from serious dangers. And then TV Line responds from the first quote, from the answer Grant said, why is there some debate about how to handle a problem? And then Grant says, the team doesn't want Barry to waste his speed. That's an element for sure, but also Joe is in some serious danger and gets harmed in the process. I don't want to spoil too much, but the dynamic of the West family and Team Flash is going to be altered for a while because of what happens with Joe and Ragdoll. Okay, so just as I've predicted, there will be some beef maybe between Joe and some people from Team Flash, or maybe just Joe's family in general. But from what Grant is saying, this leads me to believe that Ragdoll will be having a very crucial role in this episode, which makes it feel he's redeemed himself from those horrible occurrences in season 5. We will be seeing Joe get into a car crash, and also that bullet. So yeah, Joe messing with Carver does lead to some serious problems. And yeah, I just cannot wait to see what will go down. But the next question is, to the audience, Iris has been acting a bit off, sometimes even giving a typical advice. Even though it worked out for you in the last episode, the way you've been playing it, are these off moments registering at all for Barry? Or has the Thawne thing been just distracting enough? And Grant says, I think Barry has had enough distractions to not catch on as much as he should have sometimes. I'm sure viewers are screaming at Barry in certain moments how are you not realizing that something is off? But he will be the first team member outside of Wally to start picking up that something is wrong with Iris. And he starts to get suspicious. There's a breaking point where he looks back at past few weeks and realizes this isn't Iris. Okay, so as I said in my previous video, in episode 16, we are likely to have more than one argument between Mirror Iris and Barry. So maybe this huge argument that they will have, adding on to Barry realizing different stuff from these past few weeks, Iris being able to cook, Iris speaking Italian, and just her acting off in general. Towards the end of episode 16, Barry will think of all of this plus the arguments that he had, and he will eventually then figure out that this Iris that he was talking to and lived with for 6 weeks isn't his Iris. And then yeah, he will probably confront her in like episode 17 or something, or maybe he'll just keep it silent. Maybe something like that will happen. But yeah, Barry is the first team member outside of Wally to like, know that something suspicious is going on with Iris. So yeah, that's another thing to look forward to. And then the next question is, in the episodes we will get this season, is there an especially meaty or emotional scene ahead for you and Candice Patton? And Grant says, yeah, right. Before Barry kind of figures out what's going on, there's a big fight scene, essentially, that is going to change the dynamic of Barry and Iris and that relationship moving forward for the rest of the season. Okay, so this again teases a massive argument, just as I said in my previous video, between the West Allen couple, and now it says it affects their relationship moving forward. Now, this is very interesting, as now obviously when I say like, this stuff, it doesn't mean like, they'll be getting into like a divorce or something from these arguments and stuff. Obviously, their relationship will be different now, and like when Iris gets out of the mirror world, probably Iris will also confront Barry and like say like, how didn't you know that was me? And maybe like something like that will happen, so their relationship will be affected by this, that's for sure. But in terms of this big fight scene that Grant is talking about in this interview, that's obviously when Barry does find out that there is something wrong with Mirror Iris. But the last question I left for last, and it is the most interesting one in my opinion, and it is, and as far as Thawne, who's cracking around out there somewhere, should we be afraid about what or whose form he next takes? And then Grant says, there was going to be a big Thawne cliffhanger at the end of this season, and that would have been the cliffhanger, but that's not going to be the cliffhanger we get. Episode 19, titled Success is Assured, is going to end up being our finale, so we're going to have a different cliffhanger than originally planned. But the cliffhanger at the end of 619 does serve as a pretty good finale. Okay, so this one is like, the one I just, really wanted to just focus on and talk about. So this is why I just left this last, so I could get the others out of the way. Now, due to what's happening, as we know, The Flash hasn't filmed episode 20, 21, or 22. So they have no choice but to, make their finale episode 19. So I am a bit worried, because this does obviously mean like this season isn't gonna be as good as it could have been. So as like, this pandemic has literally altered the season, so like, and we have a reduction of 3 episodes. So yeah, not good stuff. So the Flash finale and 20 and 21 are pretty much cancelled, and now the finale is episode 19. So this could possibly tease a new big bad that they didn't want to be the villain, maybe, who knows. But obviously Grant did say that 19 does serve as a good finale and a good cliffhanger, so I hope that we shouldn't be that worried, as he does say it's a pretty good cliffhanger. But in terms of how the episode will play out in general, I don't know. It may not be the strongest ones, but we just have to wait and see. But Reverse Flash, the cliffhanger for the original finale, was meant to be a Reverse Flash cliffhanger. So this could have meant that Thawne could be the actual main villain for season 6 part 2, or it could just be like, we see whose body Reverse Flash now takes up, maybe something like that, and then like the actual main villain is probably still like Black Hole or something. Now this isn't my theory, it's this YouTuber is called Eric's Reloaded, and he had this theory on Thawne taking up the body of Godspeed. Now from what has been teased over here now, and like the new body that Thawne takes up, this does become a huge possibility at the moment. So maybe Thawne could like take up the body of Godspeed, and then he will already have like the Speedforce and stuff in him. That would be a very interesting thing to do, but we just have to wait and see. But obviously the main thing is, would episode 20, 21, and 22 be completely just scrapped up, or will it be the first 3 episodes of season 7? Who knows? But yeah, that is pretty much it for this video, guys. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video.